Wonder surrounds us, asking what we never thought to question. Now, you can experience it all. The new National Geographic Channel. Always wonder.
Call your cable or satellite provider to experience the new National Geographic Channel.
Now available from National Geographic Home Video.
Here, on the plains of Venezuela, no other creature looms as large or more terrifying. For centuries, the anaconda has been obscured by legends as tangled as the swamps it inhabits. Now, one barefoot biologist is taking on this shy but dangerous creature to give us our first glimpse into the hidden life of the world's largest snake. Join the search on National Geographic's Land of the Anaconda. Now, 25 years after the making of Jaws, take a new look at the great white, the fish we love to hate. Re-enter the water with National Geographic in a film driven by respect and fascination instead of fear. See how years of research and learning have transformed this monster of the deep back into a fish. Go face to face with Great White Shark.
Call 800-627-5162 to order these and many other National Geographic home videos.
And now, our feature presentation.
The human and the snake. Few species could differ more dramatically. Yet our lives wind around one another in myriad ways. In the USA, snakes are more popular than ever as pets and as subjects for scientific study. Across the nation, fanciers make a fetish of the species.
I love big snakes. Big snakes, I want a snake I could hang out on and they could crawl across the floor with me on his back if it had to be, because you're looking at a magnificent animal that has such impressive power and it's dog friendly.
Almost anywhere people live in America, snakes have lived there longer. Our worlds collide with results that are fascinating, frightening, and often bizarre for the human and the snake. is it about snakes? They touch some basic wiring of our consciousness.
I've never met anybody who was neutral about a snake. All right, it's either, ooh, a snake, or ooh, a snake.
An enormous gap divides snake lovers and snake haters. The pleasure some of us get from snakes often befuddles others.
Are you always going to be interested in snakes?
Oh, snakes are my life.
And some find serpents insanely terrifying.
They'll wrap around you and kill you.
Creepy, crawly, chill, inspiring creatures.
They could choke you.
Not really, well, yeah, they could,
Yes, they
but
can. They
a
could
lot of
break
snakes
your
are
neck.
bad.
They can break your neck and eat you alive.
Snakes do deserve respect, even fright. Trespass here and you brush against our deepest fears. Snakes have the power to make our skin crawl.
It's making me really comfortable. Take me.
I think the thing that freaks people out most about snakes is that they don't have no arms and legs. You know what I'm saying? They use their whole body, kind of like, if you can imagine yourself with no arms and legs slithering up on somebody, it's gonna feel weird, you know?
Snakes writhe through our cultural canon. They evoke an uneasy blend of fear and sexuality.
Venom in her veins and lust in her eyes.
Especially when they mix it up with women. A staple of low-budget horror films, snakes have long inspired myth-making, cinematic and otherwise.
Don't say it. Kiss it.
Everybody's got a snake story.
I was growing up as a kid, my grandmother, I love her, she would never lie to me, and I asked her about snakes because she was from the South.
Like milk snakes will bite a pregnant woman.
Like you chopped it in half with an axe, and the two halves grew back together.
And she says, oh yeah, she says, snakes are very, very evil animals, and I saw one swallow a cow one day.
Serpent lovers say the species is unfairly maligned. They believe snakes need a champion. New York, New York, where every shoulder sometimes seems to be a perch for a python. City law forbids the keeping of large snakes, but that doesn't stop anyone.
I get true jungle adventure every day in New York City.
In Lower Manhattan's fabled East Village, Robert Shapiro earns his living printing T-shirts. But his mission is rescuing beleaguered pets.
People ask me every day, what the hell is this place? Hi, Sal. Hi.
No matter what the species, Robert reaches out. His real passion is snakes. The back of Robert's shop on East 4th Street is a scaly menagerie. Some guests are recovering from injury or abuse. Others were cast out by their owners.
Oh, it's a beautiful California king snake.
Part foster parent, part social worker, Robert is a veritable one-man reptile adoption agency.
You talk about millions of animals dying from getting their faces torn up by a screen cover, by being terrified by the light in their tank and the openness, by being burned by a heat rock, by being killed by the food. I mean, this is almost so inhumane it should be illegal. Social teas.
All day long, Robert fields calls about animals in trouble. The city pound is on the line. Unless he steps up, half a dozen reptiles could be killed. Accompanied by his helper, Big Robert, the serpentine St. Francis makes his way to and from the pound.
Two young females, bright-eyed and bouncy. Oh, those are the iguanas. Okay. Young ball python. Here, hold this. Very gentle, slow. How you doing?
These intrepid reptile hunters keep a low profile, moving quickly along familiar paths. You can haul anything you want on the subway, as long as you're discreet. The iguanas will stay at Robert's for rehab.
Watch your feet. Watch your tails.
I have a male home waiting for her.
But the snakes are robust enough to pass on to a breeder he trusts.
Without people like Steve, we wouldn't be able to find some of the really special animals' homes. Because I can't keep everything.
I wish I could.
Little baby.
Another nurse.
There may be as many as 20 million pet reptiles in the U.S. Even if only a fraction of those are abandoned, that adds up to a lot of cold-blooded orphans. 3 miles north of Robert's shop lies New York's favorite animal dumping ground.
My name is Mara Pendergrass. I'm an urban park ranger. Right now we are in Central Park, which is right in the middle of New York City.
Rescuing abandoned animals is part of Mara's job. She's corralled everything from pit bulls to pythons. Each day offers fresh challenges.
What do you do when you have an iguana in a tree and you need to get it down? You poke it with a stick.
Where is this thing supposed to be?
Well, they said anywhere in this area. Turtles you never have any problems with because you can always outrun them. Shakars are a type of flightless ground bird. Someone decided to release 12 of them one day by Tavern on the Green. So for 3 days, you saw the rangers running around after these silly little flightless ground birds that can fly just enough to flutter away from you so that you have to run them down. We managed to get 10 of them. The other 2, I think, were taken by the hawks.
Word comes in. Someone's seen a snake in the grass. Ranger Mara is on the case.
When you're trying to capture an animal, you gotta try to think like that animal. I personally am very good at doing this. It doesn't come naturally to everybody. It's a talent that you have to have, and it's a talent that I happen to possess and always have.
There's no mystery to Central Park's steady stream of ownerless pets. Some people never expect that cute little thing to become so huge, or they simply lose interest in the animal.
What you think?
I don't think there's anything here.
I don't either.
Central Park isn't the only place in Manhattan with a snake surplus. A tenant on the Upper West Side has made a startling discovery. In the 18 years jazz violinist Linda Fenimore has had her rent-controlled unit, she's filled every nook and cranny with memorabilia and sheet music. Then a shadow crept into her cozy abode.
Looking through the music and looking for a Charlie Parker tune, and sitting on the floor and found what I thought was bubble wrap. Then I realized it was not bubble wrap, it was something else. So then I poured myself a glass of water and realized, this is a snakeskin. And I thought, no, this can't be, this is Manhattan. I took it down to the doorman, and the doorman jumped back to take that away, call 911.
Linda's find draws a parade of experts, from cops to scientists.
You've got my
Their
cake.
conclusion? Somewhere in this studio apartment lurks a boa constrictor about 2 years old and 4 feet long. Scattering flour as if dusting for fingerprints, they find ghostly evidence of the snake.
This is bizarre.
The mystery is how the boa broke into Linda's pad. No one's come forward to claim the wayward reptile, perhaps for fear of being punished. But typical of Gotham, everyone has an opinion on the matter.
I understand why she's scared. I mean, I wouldn't want to wake up and see a boa constrictor in my apartment either.
It's this little snake loose in the house, terrified. They made it sound like there was a monster in her house.
Linda was reaching into this cabinet and she pulled out something that felt like bubble wrap and later realized...
All right, well, we're going to send a camera crew and Katie, and we're going to see if we can find this snake for you, all right?
Linda is stuck. She doesn't want to move. Her rent could triple. Yet she's terrified of being strangled. She hasn't slept at home for months.
I've asked many people how they would feel if someone said to them, well, it probably has gone. So I said, well, it probably has gone, so therefore I should be able to sleep there. So how about if you sleep here? No, nobody wants to sleep here. Most people don't even want to come in the door. They're afraid.
Linda's problem is a bizarre variation on the old human-snake conflict over turf. The same scenario is playing out near Sacramento in Northern California, where new houses nestle in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains.
We started developing this golf course about 7 years ago and found a beautiful piece of property. What we didn't realize at the time was perhaps what kind of critters we were going to be dealing with.
Here, rattlesnakes are par for the course. When a rattler's roaming the green, who are you gonna call?
Rattlesnake removal. Okay, stripes going from its head to its tail.
Rattlesnake removal is, it's not a job for us.
An adventure.
You know?
In Auburn, California, one family's plague of snakes is another family's payday. The 3 rules of real estate are location, location, location. And that's as true for snakes as it is for humans. The northern Pacific rattler prefers to nest and breed in the Sierra Nevada Piedmont, just like the latest generation of California homeowners. The people aren't leaving, and the rattlers aren't backing down either. Len Ramirez used to play tennis professionally. As a favor to friends, he enjoyed catching and removing rattlers. Soon his leisure time activity turned into a full-time business. And then Len met Heather. It wasn't love at first bite.
I didn't know who he was or what he was about, and I saw his truck said rattlesnake removal, and I thought, well, it's probably not a good idea.
Mr. and Mrs. Leonard Ramirez, let's hear it for him.
But romance prevailed, and the two became partners in wedlock and commerce.
I just believe it was our destiny to be removing snakes.
They've been happy together for 5 years, though their career track is more than some people can handle.
It's hard to make friends.
There they go, those nuts. They get calls from frantic housewives or whatever, and they have to crawl under houses and in dark basements and under rocks.
A lot of people just laugh at the
Yeah, usually they laugh. They think we're kidding.
When they see our trucks, we go, rattlesnake removal.
They go, is that for real?
I think they're crazy.
Until they get a snake, of course. Then they're not laughing anymore. They're screaming, and they can't even tell you what their crossroads are where they live.
We've been called a
freak,
snake lady,
snake guy,
loser.
Then the jokes stop, and the checkbook comes out. It costs $80 a pop to evict a rattler.
Let's go get a snake.
He was over there on the back side of the air conditioning unit.
Got him right here.
It's funny because when we were both kids, we both wanted to be like hero people. And now a lot of people look at us like we're heroes because we rescue the people and rescue the snakes.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
Besides removing rattlers, Len and Heather try to teach customers how to cope with the snakes. Sometimes it's too late.
Waited, he came out and he sniffed the air and stuck his tongue out, you know, like snakes do, and decided it was too hot and started back in, and so I blasted him.
I feel bad for them because they have such a bad reputation. They're just the bad guy. They're evil. They're wicked. They're poisonous. They're just looked upon so negatively.
Because the rattlesnake does one thing: it kills.
Take a look at today's catch.
Hey, he's singing to us. Yeah, well.
Everybody has to do what they have to do to protect themselves, but our service is the alternative.
Take him away.
You will do.
The Ramirezes also offer maintenance contracts. Each month, for about the cost of lawn service, clients can have their yards and adjoining lands swept free of snakes. It's nerve-wracking work, but nothing fascinates Len and Heather like edging through a rattler-filled ravine.
When we're looking for snakes, we try to think like snakes.
When you see the snake and it sees you, and when you see it, everything in your body tells you to turn around and go away from it. And you have to override that, and you have to continue moving closer and closer to it and actually reach down and grab it. You're sweating and shaking like crazy, and you know that what you're doing is totally unnatural. And I think that's the biggest rush that I could ever find in the world.
There's at least 5 right there.
Because like a lot of people, you'd be trusting your spouse with the checkbook or the new sports car or something, but with us, in essence, we're trusting each other with our lives.
Another day, another snake. Actually, another 24 snakes. Len and Heather only catch a fraction of the area's rattlers, but every little bit helps. The work never stops.
Rattlesnake removal.
A woman has just moved into a new house. She's seen a snake, rattling. She's terrified.
You never know what's at the other end of the phone line when somebody calls what type of snake.
You could hear him rattle through the window, even though they're double pane.
How would you feel if you came home and there was a rattlesnake just coiled in your living room? I mean, that's reality. It happens. He's fine. Are you okay?
I know, really. No, I'm fine. I'm just not used to. I just moved here 4 days ago. I'm not used to snakes greeting me at the door. I'll be seeing you too.
Have a great night. Thanks for calling.
And thank you for handling everything in such a calm way. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye. See you again. Bye-bye.
I will see him again. Oh my goodness.
Once a week, Heather and Len head for open ground with a truckload of restless rattlers. The snakes can go days, even months, without eating, but it's important to release them as soon as possible, and on the right piece of real estate. Relocating a wild animal is always a gamble, but these rattlers are bound to fare better here than in cul-de-sacs and gated communities.
You have to really be careful when you're placing them that you don't overpopulate an area, that could cause problems and those snakes end up starving. So it's a lot of work and thought, too.
For Len and Heather, rattlesnake removal is as much a way of life as a career.
We'll probably be chasing rattlesnakes until we die. It's what we're supposed to be doing. And there's nothing else that's more fun. So why would we want to do anything else?
It's fine to work with snakes if you love them. But what if you have to work with snakes and you can't stand them?
I hate talking about them, thinking about them, and being anywhere near them.
Karen Herka, a researcher at National Geographic Television, can't even work on stories that include serpents.
When I'm asked to research a subject involving snakes, I refuse to do it just because it makes me physically ill.
Psychologists call this ophidiophobia, and Karen's got it bad. She wanted to confront her worst fear, so we brought her to Duke Lee in New York. Duke, a snake wrangler, helps people overcome anxiety about his favorite animal.
When I come across someone who has a terrible fear of snakes, I realize that they've got this record playing in their head. So what I try and do is I scratch that record. The first and most important step is that you want to overcome this fear because you know it's not normal.
Duke tries to get clients to break old associations and form new patterns of feeling and behavior.
What do you think it is?
He wants to kid Karen out of her fear, but she's too worked up to enjoy the joke.
Fear of not knowing?
Think of yourself as having a fear meter inside you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And from a scale of 1 to 10,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Let's just say that there is a snake in this box.
There is a snake in that box.
Okay. So
Okay, it's a 9, and it just makes me nauseous to even look at it.
Okay, you feel it in your stomach.
Yes, it's a very visceral feeling of repulsion.
All right, so I want you to tell me on your meter. First of all, let's get rid of this. Exactly.
Oh, crap. Ugh.
All right, stick
All right.
close to me. Stick close to yourself. I want you to tell me.
I think you should put it away.
Right, but where's your meter?
It's a 10. It's a
10.
Yeah, it's a 15.
It's 15.
It's really making me sick.
Okay, that's good. Probably even feel worse when you see it move.
Yeah, it's really gross.
Right? That's okay. You didn't leave the room. That's fine.
What will become of Karen? Her fear may be too deep set to dispel. Some people recoil from what frightens them. Others respond with a bold, sometimes aggressive display. Every March, revelers happily invade Sweetwater, Texas for the Rattlesnake Roundup. One of many such events held around the U.S., the Roundup raises money for charity and boosts the town's economy. For 3 days, rattler paraphernalia fills the town as people celebrate the capturing, killing, and even eating of rattlesnakes.
We have a rattlesnake bikini sunbathing suit. They are not to swim in, they're to be used only in sunbathing.
There's even a beauty queen.
I was just squirming.
But the rattlers probably don't find Miss Snake Charmer charming at all. Organizers pay around $5 a pound for live rattlers, a vestige of the days when many wild animals had prices on their heads. Rattlers are the reptiles people love to hate, but a few folks are willing to stand up for them.
I think rattlesnake roundups are really unfortunate because a lot of snakes are removed from the environment. The snakes are then handled carelessly and abusively. Many of them are injured, most of them are killed, and it's all done in the sake of entertainment.
Got a lot of people coming in here spending money.
Brings a lot of girls in town.
And I can't imagine another animal, rabbits, feral cats, even mice being killed in great numbers for the public.
Sweetwater, Texas looks at rattlers one way. Albuquerque, New Mexico is home to a completely different take on snakes. Rattlesnake Museum Director Bob Myers is determined to clear the rattler's name. The museum's got everything that has anything to do with snakes.
I think what we're trying to do here is to tie other people's interests to ours. Give them a different perspective on the subject of snakes. So many people are fearful of snakes, and this helps them.
And if that's not enough, Bob will take hardcore fans on a ramble through the desert.
Okay, snakes, I'm ready.
It's a kind of snake safari that lets people observe rattlers in their habitat.
All right. How'd y'all like to touch a rattlesnake?
He's held. He can't hurt you in any way. Get the chest.
Put your ear right up.
I'm just saying what Bob said, Tina.
You want to put your ear right up to the tube?
Yeah.
Be interesting. Absolutely. It's not even.
Oh God, that's scary to be that close to him.
Put your ear up there.
These tours deliver an intimate dose of natural history.
Oh, it's the first time I've had a snake blow in my ear. Actually, maybe not.
Well, maybe not. There you go, back to the wild.
Encounters like these help Americans appreciate their snakes.
baby, show you right.
And America does have a remarkable collection of native serpents, unusual and colorful. Think of them as the United Snakes of America. None is more feared or revered than the rattler. An icon of American power and independence, this snake only uses its distinctive shaker to ward off intruders. The copperhead has a keen fashion sense. Its skin is a perfect match for the leaves and woodpiles of its East Coast range. Relatively weak venom hasn't hurt the copperhead's reputation as a treacherous biter. On the southern-dwelling coral snake, festive colors are a warning sign. Its neurotoxic venom, designed for fast kills, attacks the central nervous system. One nip means deep trouble. Think red touches yellow, kill a fellow. In contrast to red touches black, friend of Jack. The slogan for the similar but benign Scarlet King, which dines royally on all its cousins, including rattlers. It's immune to their venom. The swamps and bayous of the Deep South harbor the cottonmouth, whose white gums warn of its strong venom and swift attack. Think sporty, adventurous, athletic. The black rat snake is a social climber, and a fast one at that. A flat belly and ridged scales let it travel up and down vertical surfaces. Named for the elastic band once used to hold up gentlemen's socks, garter snakes are children's favorites. They thrive even in cold climates. Some garter snakes hibernate below the surface of icy ponds. During the winter, they can go as long as 5 months without breathing. Our indigenous snakes are a fascinating lot that have inspired many tales. But when it comes to pets, we seem to seek out immigrants.
The 2000 National Reptile Breeders Expo is now open. Welcome to Daytona Beach.
Every summer, 10,000 enthusiasts come to Florida for the largest reptile expo in the world.
Beautiful.
Hundreds of vendors sell not only snakes, but all things snakely.
The more urban a city, I think the more exotic pets there'll be. I don't think there's a lot of people with pythons where these things come from. Matter of fact, people consider these things something to stay away from in Southeast Asia.
Animals. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
It's kind of like a potato chip or a French fry. It's hard to just enjoy one.
Take the water bowl out.
American ingenuity never rests. Thanks to selective crossbreeding, snakes now come in new colors and patterns.
It's like having a living jewel. It really is.
They definitely have personalities, and they definitely have recognition capabilities.
This fashion-forward look has helped serpents to emerge as stars of fad and spectacle.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're just in time. Come one, come all, come tall, come small, step up, step in, the free show is about to begin.
On the stage, the snake's pagan sensuality reigns. It's a 21st century twist on an attraction as ancient and provocative as serpents themselves. In the Appalachian Mountains, a few Americans see their relationship with snakes as the embodiment of biblical prophecy. Some fundamentalist Christians live by the Gospel of Mark, chapter 16, which says, "They shall take up serpents." When they touch a venomous snake, they're reaching toward heaven.
Say, God, if everyone's coming for you, we praise you, God, for everything, God, and we praise you, Lord.
On today's trip, Verlin Short and his relatives are in Kentucky to catch snakes.
Most important things that I'm bringing with me today would be the Spirit of Christ that lives in me, and be my Bible. People hunt trophy bucks and catch trophy fish, and well, there's some trophy snakes in this mountain right here. Yeah, whoa. It's a big copperhead.
They're getting ready for a church service in West Virginia, the only state in the region that has never outlawed religious snake handling.
It won't come out. It don't bother me from people call me crazy, foolish, ignorant, you know, dumb hillbilly. They call me a lot of stuff, but I grin on, you know, I know who I am, what I do. I enjoy what I do. If I had to put it off. You sorry little sucker.
These Pentecostal believers say one of the true expressions of faith lies in grabbing a copperhead or a rattlesnake and holding it, even dancing with it.
It's about 30 inches, probably. Good copperhead for the homecomings for church. So we've got 3 nice copperheads already for the homecoming. So hopefully we'll get some more, make everybody happy.
Religious snake handling came into vogue in the early 1900s, and for a time was popular in many southern states.
When I talk to you, because
the tradition has waned, but a few of the faithful still take up serpents.
And if you're not in the Word, then you're on a downward road. This is Bible.
Yeah, it is.
He didn't say the serpent wouldn't bite me. They southern copperheads, northern copperheads, diamondback rattlers. We handle anything that's deadly by the help of God.
I got bit in there one homecoming, and there was a copperhead in there, and it was mean, and nobody really going after it, you know. And I said, Lord, I said, give me victory over it, because I asked him before I do anything, you know. And he said, go ahead. I said, Lord, can I have victory? He said, I give you victory. I grabbed the hold of that thing and it bit me. I said, I stopped everything right there. I said, Lord, you said I could have victory. He said, you won't swell. And I've been bit about 5 times after that and ain't never swelled.
I've never been hospitalized yet with a snake bite.
Well, a big diamondback stuck a hold of me. But that didn't stop me. And I'm 82. Age. Snake bite's 86.
I've been bitten 4 times, and I don't like to get bitten, but it's still a part of the word.
Only days ago, a worshiper here took up a rattlesnake, was bitten, and later died.
The word says take them up. That's what I do. But one of these days, I want to go back with him. And if I don't obey the word, I can't go.
If I get bit and I die, I got all the promise in the world that my kids will be took care of, and I'll see them one day. This is a persecuted way, it's a suffering way, but it's the only way.
Whenever the Lord moves upon you, yeah, that's happiness, that's love. And whenever the Lord moves upon me and really moves in my life, I can go for a week with this thing like a big halo over me. It stays there. It's something that carried me through for a whole week. If a person didn't get bit, everybody would be doing it. You know, because the Word of God said it, we're going to pick them up. But I've got my life on the line. Because there are death in that box. I think we have to be a little crazy now, I mean, you know. But in a godly craziness.
To the outside world, Pentecostal's leap of faith may seem to defy logic. But throw a snake into almost any situation, and the results are bound to be surprising. Researchers studying the secrets of venom wonder if snakes make conscious decisions when biting. At Lafayette College in eastern Pennsylvania, Dr. Bruce Young is trying to measure the flow of venom through a rattlesnake's fang. He's been developing his theory for years. The first step? Wiring a rattler's venom duct with ultrasound sensors.
Good boy.
To study how the snake behaves in an offensive bite, he dangles a tantalizing treat.
If you drop a little mouse in front of a rattlesnake, in less than a half of a second, that rattlesnake has to identify that mouse as potential prey. It has to, shall we say, size up the mouse, decide if it's the right size for an appropriate meal, has to accelerate its head, drive its fangs into the mouse, inject venom, and then release.
To obtain comparable data on a bite delivered defensively, he gets out Kyle, who will stand in for all humanity.
We use the South Park doll for a variety of reasons. A large face and a large eye seems to stimulate defensive strikes in snakes. Well, we try to make it as threatening as we can. We take the doll, I rub the doll all over my head before we present it, so the doll smells like mammalian hair oil and mammal. We get the snake all mad, and then we wave this big, hot, hairy-smelling thing in front of it, and the snake will just launch into it.
With a high-speed camera linked to a computer, Dr. Young and his team want to gauge how quickly a rattlesnake bites and how much venom it injects. To be able to trust their data, they need to be able to trust their system. Finally, it works. As Kyle takes yet another hit, the sensors detect a spurt of venom.
That's it. It may not look like much. It is just a little blip or deflection of a line, but to us, it's the culmination of 2 years of work. Great thing to me is what we're looking at is the first ever direct recording of venom flowing through a snake.
As Dr. Young prepares to put his theories to a practical test, other researchers are making important discoveries about snake psychology. At Loma Linda University in California, Dr. William Hayes is well into a study of the difference between offensive and defensive bites.
To get the snake to bite, we simply put it in an arena. We give it a little time to adjust, but then we dangle a glove, a saline-filled glove, in front of the snake and move it around quite a bit and harass the snake if need be. And they get quite defensive and they strike very readily.
We want to try and threaten him a little with this without actually making contact.
After a strike, they run a chemical analysis to measure the venom. The data show that a snake often injects more venom in a defensive bite, confounding accepted wisdom.
When I present these results to colleagues, particularly at scientific meetings, some of them are really incredulous because most snake people had come to believe that the snakes actually inject less venom in a defensive bite.
Dr. Hayes has found that snakes appeared to assess the risk posed by an intruder or attacker. They're using their little brains to think? Perhaps rattlers reserve their most virulent bites for those who would tread on them. That's the lesson for a young Californian, and he's learning it in a way that disturbs even an ER doctor.
I'm an emergency physician, and my specialty is treating snake bites.
Loma Linda Hospital is smack in the middle of rattlesnake territory. Himself a snake enthusiast, Dr. Sean Bush has treated many rattler bites. Most are not fatal. But there are always exceptions.
This will be the first patient I've actually seen that I've actually treated that I thought, could die from a snake bite.
I've known Pippin ever since I was about 11 years old. We've grown up together, went to school together, been through hard times, been through good times.
Pippin Graves is 23 years old. A welder and the father of 4-year-old Mackenzie, he loves to take chances. It's a hot summer afternoon. Pippin and his pals have just gotten off work. They head for the mountains to cruise the fire roads. At the wheel is Pippin's best friend, Nick.
We started driving back down the hill, and it's when I noticed a rattlesnake, about a 3-foot rattlesnake, crossing the dirt path in front of us. So I stopped the truck, and everybody jumped out and kind of ran up to it. That's when he grabbed it right back behind the head, but just gave it enough room to turn and bite him. And then I was like, oh boy, we gotta go. I just told him to throw the snake and let's go.
Almost immediately, Pippin's limbs go numb. His heart races, pumping venom through his body. His hand and forearm begin to swell. The pain is excruciating. And they're miles from nowhere on a steep, narrow road.
I was concentrating on getting them down this hill as quick as I possibly could without crashing and dying or anything.
Nick finds a ranger station, but it's empty.
He just fell out of the truck onto the ground and was telling me he couldn't breathe. He said he thinks he's gonna die. I told him, I said, you're not gonna die, man. I said, you just gotta breathe.
A bystander with a cell phone calls 911. With each pulse, the venom attacks more of Pippin's blood. Fluid is leaking from his veins and arteries. His blood won't clot and his arm is swelling badly. An allergic reaction to the venom has constricted his throat. Pippin is losing consciousness. Every second counts.
They called us on the radio, and they're kind of panicked a little bit. They're a little rattled, and you don't really hear that very often on the radio.
Emergency department.
I'm on duty. They're telling me about this real severe envenomation in the field, and I'm starting to mix up the antivenom. I called pharmacy. I said, we're going to need to start off with at least 20 vials of antivenom. I think we're going to probably... And we met him up there on the helipad. Yeah, let's get the antivenom started as quickly as possible. See how he's going. Get him on the ventilator. I just started giving antivenom, and I gave it fast.
Pippin's timing is against him, too. Across the U.S., antivenom is in short supply. Dr. Bush fears he can't meet his patients' dire needs.
Right away, I realized as soon as I started infusing, I said, we're going to need more than this. So I ordered another 20 vials. And subsequent to that, I even ordered another 20 vials.
But even 60 vials isn't enough.
I was getting on the phone trying to find out where I could get some more antivenom. I typed out kind of an SOS email saying that I'm treating one of the worst snake bites that I've ever seen in my life. Can you please help me find additional antivenom Crotality polyvalent?
As word of the Loma Linda crisis spreads, antivenom begins to arrive. Eventually, Pippin receives 140 vials of the scarce medicine, more than Dr. Bush has given any other patient. But that doesn't guarantee Pippin's survival.
The fact that I stopped because of that stupid snake, if I would have just kept going, or just passed by it, none of this would have ever happened.
To relieve the awful pressure in Pippin's arm, doctors resort to extreme medicine. They slice the casings of his muscles. Pippin hovers between life and death, a silent witness to the danger of making mischief with rattlesnakes. Finally, signs of life. After days of uncertainty, Pippin wakes up.
For sure. I mean, this guy was on death's doorstep, you know, and we gave him a lot of anti-venom, and 3 days later he's starting to recover, and I was just kind of surprised to see he was having purposeful, you know, movement, and I was very surprised to be sitting there having a conversation with him.
The next thing I remember pretty much was waking up in the hospital, in ICU, and talking to the doctor, and they said I'd been there for 5 days already. You know, that I almost lost my life.
You used more anti-venom than I've ever given to a patient, 140 vials. You're one of the sickest patients I've ever seen, actually.
Though scarred forever, Pippin's made a remarkably full recovery.
I was very relieved that he made it through. I've never had any close friends of mine die or anything, and this was the closest it's ever came, and it was scary. I mean, it was really scary.
It's brought me closer to him, and I just thankful he's alive.
I'd regret, you know, everything that happened, you know, that day when I was bit. If I could take it back, I would. I have the scars, you just remind me of it. I'm gonna look down my arm, and that'll remind me how serious it was.
Across the country in New York City, Linda Fenimore has a snake problem she'll never forget, either.
Glad you came.
Robert Shapiro has traveled uptown to see if he can help find the boa constrictor that's loose in her apartment.
It'd be like winning the lottery to find this snake. You know those specials they have on the Crocodile Hunter? They always stage the animal, so it looks like he always finds it whenever he's looking for it. Oh, it's in the motor of this car.
In the wild, boa constrictors cruise the rainforest, content to curl up in a welcoming tree root. But in town, a hatbox will do. And Linda's studio is just the right toasty temperature.
It's in the low 80s in here right now, which is perfect.
We aim to please.
Yep. He aims to squeeze.
All right.
You know, snakes are very shy. All they want to do is hide and wait for food to come by. That's their whole life.
Well, I don't want to be the food that comes by where he takes a little bite out of my hand. Or he curls up next to me at night or something.
It's not, you know, the snake, the last thing it wants in the world is to be hanging out with you. I'm gonna look over there. I have 2 words to help you with that'll solve your problem. Salvation Army. Okay.
Unfortunately, I use all this music. It's not.
Notice,
it's not.
I said Salvation Army, and you went right to the music. I was not talking about music.
While Linda is beset by a boa she's never seen, snake-phobic Karen Herka is still struggling to overcome her fear of all serpents. She can't take her horrified eyes off the python across the room.
What do you think your fear meter is right now?
Maybe back down to a 9. I don't. Yeah.
You were 15 a second ago. You were on the way out the door. All right? That's not too bad. And if you could just sit here for a second. Oh, then sit there. Just relax. All right. I asked a friend of mine to come down today to give me a hand with this.
To reduce Karen's anxiety, Duke brings in a young assistant.
What I'm going to do is, Oren, I want you to just have a seat. Okay, Oren, you ever handled a snake before?
Never.
Okay. Do me a favor. Hold that and hold this. Okay. How does that feel?
Not bad.
All right. Could you just scoot a little closer so I don't have to yell across the room? I promise I'll sit right here. All I want you to do is take 2 fingers and touch this end of the snake. What do you think right now? What do you feel?
Make a nice purse.
There we go. Fashion right away. Women with fashion. I can't understand it. If I got 3 of these guys, that's Mo, Larry, then this one has to be Ethel. Okay? You'd be just as afraid of Ethel as you would a 9-foot python?
Yes, the size isn't that important.
Where is your fear level right now?
It's back up to about an 8.
That's just because it's a bag.
It's a moving bag
It's
with
a
an animal
moving
in it.
bag. This is Bubbles, and Bubbles is an albino Burmese python. Now, all I want you to do is just hold it right about here. Actually, pick it up off the table and hold it. I'm right here with you.
I really don't want to.
No?
No.
That was excellent. Okay?
Karen is closing in on the real source of her fear, but she has a long way to go. Back in Central Park, the latest snake hunt is still underway. Unless someone rescues an abandoned pet, its chances of surviving here are slim. Ranger Mara Pendergrass takes it personally.
I find that despicable, truthfully. Very despicable. Ours is a very much of a throwaway culture. If you want it, then you want it. If you don't, then you throw it out.
Finally, Mara spots her quarry, a young ball python cold and wet.
Well, you never know what you'll find in the city, do you?
Mara regularly hands off abandoned animals to Robert Shapiro. She's taking the snake downtown.
Manhattan 75 to Central, be advised. This unit is 63 Central Park, 87 Social TK.
Hello.
Hey. Long time.
Yeah. Long time no see. I got a ball python for you. Actually, this one was reported by the Conservancy. Unfortunately, we were nearby. They said there's a snake over here, come get it. So I didn't know, you know, when we're wandering around looking, because the Conservancy saw it, reported it, and left.
Okay, where am I going to put you? We got a pretty full house today.
At Robert's Reptile Guest House, there's always a spare bin.
There you go.
Not all owners do the wrong thing when they need to get rid of a snake. Out in the suburbs, a young couple has a serpent situation of their own making. Roger and Karen Harris love their pets, but things have gotten out of hand.
When we moved out of my parents' house is when it took off, because then I could have anything I wanted.
This one's name is Apple. This one's name is Banana.
We were breeding snakes, like little snakes, king snakes, corn snakes, and we had 151 snakes at one point in our apartment.
Go this way.
The biggest snake in the house, and Roger's favorite, is Tiny.
There you go. There you go. This is a picture of me and Tiny in the backyard of my apartment building. I was letting them get some sun and pretty much scaring all my neighbors away.
The Harris children have lived with snakes and other animals since they can remember. But Tiny is now 12 feet long, and other snakes are catching up. The Harrises worry less about Tiny hurting the kids than about the kids hurting Tiny.
That's why we have the no grabbing the snakes by the head rule.
They've reluctantly concluded that Tiny and 3 other pythons need a new home.
Definitely.
I'll be sad to see him go, but for the safety of the snake and for the safety of the children, it's hopefully, you know, they'll find a home where they can be cared for without worrying about children like mine.
To help the Harrises, Robert Shapiro makes a house call.
Show me your stuff.
All right. Back here in the back room, back bedroom.
Sure, she's up. She's too distracted. Just put the pillowcase low. That's it. No, low. Pleasant for the snake. Just don't let it near your face. There you go. It's really good for snakes. Putting them in a sack and in a dark box. But
I actually would like to get some jungle, all right?
once I get her on the seat, slap her a little. He did the right thing. I mean, obviously, he had kids running around the house too. If those things got out, it would have been bad. And the kids are all over the place, so it's the responsible thing to do is to give them up.
Robert has arranged for Tiny and company to go to a snake farm in Minnesota, whose owner he respects.
Well, thankfully for guys like Randy, these animals are going to live happily ever after, somewhere in the Midwest. Corn-fed snakes. Well, they'll be eating corn-fed rats, at least. Inadvertently have corn.
As the sun sinks low over the city, Robert Shapiro drives another snake out of Gotham.
He's pretty comfortable. You just got to bring him
At
back.
long last, Karen has taken up a serpent.
Don't go anywhere.
The question is, can she hold on?
How you doing, Karen?
I can't believe I'm holding a snake.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm
No,
right
I
here.
don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Where's the meter at?
It's really high. It's really a 10.
Say like 10?
Yeah.
12?
Mhm.
15?
Mhm.
And what's happening?
Nothing, but it's making me really uncomfortable. It's making me really uncomfortable. We take him.
I'll take him.
Okay. That seems more real to me than this. This seems like a big stuffed animal.
Uh-huh.
A big, cute stuffed animal. And he's cute.
I want you just to hold his tail, and I'm going to hold him on that side. Move him back. There you go. Where's your level of fear now?
It's about a 4.
It's about a 4. It went up a little bit. That's because you got contact on him right now.
Creepy meter.
Creepy meter's going up high?
If he doesn't move at all, it doesn't bother me.
Right.
When he moves, then it makes me nervous.
You're going to find out that things that are alive are going to move from time to time. You won't hurt him.
I didn't think Duke would be able to help me. I thought my phobia was too strong.
Excellent.
I thought this is going to take hours, this is going to take days, this could take years.
Karen, I can't believe you. You're unbelievable.
And I was shocked that I was sitting there with a 9-foot snake on my lap. It was incredible. I like snakes now. They don't bother me at all.
He loves them.
I just think that I just didn't understand the snakes, like most people. Thanks. Take care.
Finally, Karen's come to grips with the enemy and escaped the clutches of her phobia.
Next.
But on the Upper West Side, the search for Linda Fenimore's phantom boa continues. It's been 4 months, and she's desperate to locate the snake.
This is like probably the most bizarre thing I've ever heard of.
Nobody wants that snake more than me. Nobody.
Thinking the boa may be hiding in her folding bed, she's hired a crew to take it apart.
Just when I thought things couldn't get worse.
We can see through the whole back of this now. And I don't see him. No.
Nope, none of that.
Where does he go? Life is just a bowl of cherries.
Linda's dilemma embodies the border that separates and connects people and snakes. Snakes creep us out, populate our nightmares, complicate our dreams. We love them and we fear them, sometimes simultaneously. We can't get enough of snakes, and we can't get far enough away from them. We're the United Snakes of America, all right. A big country where there's always room for one more serpent. Most of the time, anyway. There are 10 million stories in this naked city. This one hasn't ended. Yet.